It's great to have you here on the Clark Howard Show. You know, our mission is to serve you with advice and information that empowers you to make better financial decisions in your life. And in today's episode, I'm going to share with you, I recently went through the process of switching cell phone carriers. I want to talk about what that odyssey is like and why I switched to who I switched to. Well, was that really bad grammar? English teachers, no need for you to write in. I know. There are so many opportunities, though, for you to save money on your bill. We're going to talk about that. And speaking of saving, well, this is a problem. This is patient, doctor know yourself, patient know yourself. What's that expression? Anyway, there's a term that was kind of obscure that's now used more often called spaving. Are you a spaver instead of a saver? I'm going to tell you what that is and where you may be tricking yourself into creating less wealth in your life rather than more. We're going to talk about that. So I have been a customer of T-Mobile, had been, for a long, long time. I think for 18 years. And I dumped them recently. And it wasn't just dumping for me. I had a ton of family members and had a friend on our plan. And so I peeled some people off, 3 people off to Mint Mobile, and then 1 person to Visible, which is Verizon's discount brand that they own. And then the rest were all on Google Fi, which is Google. I mean, you may not even know this. Google has its own cell phone plan. And the reason that I left T-Mobile, and obviously I've been a very loyal T-Mobile customer, is T-Mobile is now owned by a foreign entity, a German company. And when they went from being U.S. controlled to German controlled, the purpose of the company changed. You know, T-Mobile had been all about being the Un-carrier and offering much better deals than AT&T and Verizon. And the German owners now are really about squeezing more money out of every subscriber. No problem with that. That's what they've decided their goal and objective is. Well, I didn't want to be squeezed. And so looked around, and it's amazing how much money the people that were under my umbrella on my, because at one time I had 14 of us on my T-Mobile plan. And so now that we've all jettisoned different places, every last one of us is paying a lot less money than it cost for us collectively, all added together, divided out, to be with T-Mobile because of the price increases. The service with T-Mobile has been absolutely fine. Customer service, since it became a foreign-owned company, is not nearly as good as it used to be. But you can see that in the customer satisfaction scores that they get now, where T-Mobile used to be at the top of the heap, not so much anymore. And so I made the switch. This isn't a bash T-Mobile moment. It's about you, whoever you're with. If you just are a creature of habit and you keep paying whatever you're paying, are you throwing money away? So the 3 people who are with Mint Mobile, they're on 3 different rate plans with Mint Mobile. Because, and Mint Mobile, by the way, was recently bought by, it was an independent company, it was bought for billions by T-Mobile. So far, they haven't messed with it. But right now, the Mint Mobile people are on these 3 different rate plans, depending on how much data they need. And they're all on annuals, where you just pay for a full year in advance. And the customer service at Mint Mobile always was extraordinarily good. So far, T-Mobile has not changed that. It still seems to be really good at Mint Mobile. And those 3 individuals are very happy. They switched months ago. More recently, I moved one of my daughters from T-Mobile to Visible, Verizon's discount arm, because Verizon, as we reported on Clark.com and as I did on the podcast and the YouTube show, Verizon's Visible brand went to annual rate plans. And the premium annual rate plan includes, and this is where it was important and why my middle child ended up on Visible, she has a cellular Apple Watch. That was costing her $15 a month for service on T-Mobile. It's free with Visible's premium plan. And her monthly service paid on an annual basis was $395. So for $32 a month, she now has unlimited everything on a really rock-solid Verizon plan, but again, sold through their discount brand Visible, visible.com. She gets the phone service, and she has the watch. Porting her from T-Mobile to Visible happened in a blink. The three people that switched to Mint, two of them went boom right away. I mean, like in seconds. The third, there was a problem with the validation and took a day. The rest of us going from T-Mobile, going from that to Google Fi. Why did we go to Google Fi? Because I love to travel. And Google Fi treats your data plan the same when you're outside the United States as you're in the United States. So you don't have to deal with bill shock when you're overseas. And so it was a really clear choice because it was much cheaper per month for the four of us that migrated from T-Mobile over to Google Fi, and the porting was really, really easy. When you look to leave whoever you're with to someone else, there's three pieces of information you'll need. One, obviously, the phone number you're porting, the account number you have with your cell phone provider, which will normally be the same for everybody on your plan, and then third, a temporary use PIN code for porting. And this PIN code is, depending on the cell phone carrier, is good for 72 hours or could be 96 hours or, in the case of T-Mobile, 120 hours. And so you get that code from them. Depending on the cell phone carrier, you can just get it online, or you have to go through a validation process with customer no service and get the code. When you have to go through customer no service, they're going to put you with a retention specialist who's going to try to get you to stay with them and offer you this, that, and the other. And if you've already made the decision to go, it better be a lot of really good this, that, and the other for you to stay. There was nothing they could say that would convince me to stay because I'm saving a ton going to Google Fi. And the porting of each line has been very easy, except my son's complaining on his iPhone. He's having trouble with iMessage. And he'll figure that out. But I want you to know it's easier than you might think for you to move your service. And the companies that are the best at customer service, on the latest ratings from the American Customer Satisfaction Index, by far and away, the ones that rated the highest, and it's not even close, are all independents that buy wholesale capacity from the big three. And at the top of the heap is a company people will say, why don't you talk about them? Why don't you talk about them? Why don't you talk about them? It's Consumer Cellular. Consumer Cellular that specializes in a lot of people who are older. That's their niche in the marketplace. They are incredible. And their score is, they're the only cell phone carrier that almost gets an A in customer service, which is fantastic. And then Mint Mobile is right behind them. Straight Talk, which is a Verizon discount brand, that they own completely somehow makes it in this independent category, followed by Google Fi. In addition of the big carriers, all these smaller ones, independents, outrun the three big brand names, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile. And I assume it's not just that the customer no service experience isn't great. You know what I think it is? The price. And the reason I say that is Spectrum, which is a cable company that people get internet from basically now. Spectrum ranked higher than AT&T, Verizon, or T-Mobile, even though for internet service, their customer rankings aren't good. For cell phone service, they rank really well, as does Xfinity by Comcast, where, again, people don't really love Comcast as a company. They've been very happy with them for cell phone service. And we have a full review of all these alternatives you can look at and what their prices are and how they rank in customer satisfaction on Clark.com.
We have a writer, Dallas, who is dedicated to this. And a shortcut you can use if you're looking for the best plans is Clark.com/best phone plans. So you can use that. Speaking of phones, Gary in Georgia wrote in with this. Are iPhone protection plans worth the money? I've lost only one phone ever, and I've been paying $17 a month forever, and the replacement phone for my 4-year-old iPhone 11 that they are sending me has a deductible of $229. Doesn't appear to make sense, but is there ever a case when it does?
So I hate any kind of plan like this. I hate, what does Apple call it, Apple Care or something? I hate all that stuff. You're insuring very narrow things in your life. Insurance should be for big things. You know, your life, your home, your auto, that kind of stuff. You don't insure your washer or your dryer or your television or your cell phone. But if this is something that you're like, well, what happens if my new doodad iPhone or Samsung croaks or gets stolen or whatever, what am I to do? What I like for you to do, this is going to sound weird, I like for you to get a credit card that includes cell phone damage or theft for free. And there are any of a number of them. We have a list at Clark.com. There are other lists out there that show you what credit cards, you may already be carrying one, that include cell phone coverage for free. Would I ever pay a monthly fee for it? Not on your life.
Christy in North Carolina says, my husband and I currently own and operate a pottery shop. We make and produce everything starting from a 25-pound block of clay.
Wow.
We have been in business for 23 years. The saying, work smarter, not harder, is starting to appeal to me as age 50 is approaching later this year. I have the opportunity to purchase an existing boutique. I would be paying cash for the business, but I'm wondering if this is a good move in our current economy and the fact that it's an election year. Election years are always hard for small businesses. I would be paying rent on the building and, of course, utilities, along with the cost of purchasing additional merchandise for the boutique. Backstory, the owner wants to sell because she has too many things going on and can't run it effectively. This was a bucket list item for her that has now been checked.
So, Christy, this is fascinating. I'm an entrepreneur by nature and by action, and you obviously are an entrepreneur. Your expertise is in pottery. I can tell you that 25-pound block of clay looks better as a block of clay than it would after I tried to make anything from it. And so that brings me to my point. Buying a boutique, what is your interest and expertise in fashion? If this is not your area, just the fact that this business owner is exhausted and the business is basically maybe on life support because they've got too many other interests, doesn't mean this is an opportunity for you to come in and buy it for pennies on the dollar if this is not a core expertise and interest of yours. So I would say that that's not working smarter unless it is your area. If it is, if you really, really love fashion and design and clothing and whatever, and having a boutique would be a dream for you, something you've always wanted to be involved in is life's work, fine. Otherwise, not your opportunity.
I would offer to work there for 2 weeks for free and just see the reality.
Well, that is true. I always like, in any business you're thinking of operating, you want to be there. I don't care if you're cleaning the toilets and taking out the trash. You want to be on site, get a feel for what's going on there. And is it the Titanic about to sink, and you'd be volunteering to become the new captain of the Titanic, or is it a sleeping giant ready to be awakened, whatever, by you, woken up by you. Thank you.
Chuck in Massachusetts says, our son Max was born in March of 2023. I completed the paperwork to add him to our family's health insurance policy. The form requested his social security number, but I declined to provide it. A friendly rep from HR called me to follow up and request his SSN, as it is used to track medical care across providers and ensure continuity of care. I shared what I learned from you, that a huge portion of identity theft originates from medical office security breaches. The representative relented, and Max was added to our policy without his number. On April 17th, 2023, I laughed out loud when, 35 days after our son's social security number was requested, our health insurance provider notified us of a ransomware incident resulting in patient data being compromised, including social security numbers. Because I followed Clark's advice and declined to provide it, I could rest easy knowing my son's social security number wasn't compromised. And P.S., June 18th of 2024, my wife and I finally froze our credit using your guide, so we don't need to worry about ourselves either. It only took about 20 minutes. Thanks for keeping us safe.
Well, I love your post all the way around. Every medical office you ever go to, every medical provider, every insurer, they all want right away name, address, birth date, and social security number. Giving up that social security number is dangerous because medical providers should be about providing medicine and the care associated with it, and they're not good at data. And the hacks that happen in medicine account for roughly half of all hacks. So you always say no. They've got to convince you to turn that no into a yes. You were able to get your child insured without that no becoming a yes. Good for you. And freezing your credit, great for you. But the one thing you said it took you 20, I always say it'll take you 15 minutes or less. But you got it done, and it's so worth it, and it's free. Coming up ahead, are you a saver or a spaver? Which do you think you are, Christa?
I could be a spaver sometimes. I'm going to admit it.
Okay, we're going to talk that through because I am guilty of being a spaver way too often. So, spaver, heard that term? It's one that's been kicking around for a while, and it's being talked about a lot now because of what's going on today in the U.S. economy. We as Americans got beaten up, as well as, if misery loves company, people all across the globe got just pummeled by inflation because of the disruptions that all have their genesis in COVID back in 20 and the resulting supply chain disruptions and any of number of factors. The fact is, we got beaten up by inflation. And we're still suffering from the consequences of it. And so much so that we've become much more careful with our spending. And everybody's having to beg us to buy. Well, now we've got a reverse situation. All different kinds of goods are in oversupply for manufacturers, for retailers, for grocery stores, you name it. They're in oversupply. So now they are trying to appeal to the spaver in us instead of the saver in us. What is that? The idea is to get you to buy more than you intended to buy of an item by teasing it with a sale. The nation's second largest supermarket chain, Kroger, has really tried to hit people in the spaver wallet by doing things where you only get the special price if you buy 5 or more, or 10 or more of an item, or that you buy above a certain quantity, usually 5, of different items that are on their discount list. So you only get the price on any of them, the discounted price, if you buy 5 of various items in that spaver category.
Isn't this, if you're a Costco or Warehouse Club shopper, aren't you automatically a spaver?
Well, because of the size of the quantities of things you buy.
But they even do that like with their clothing
if
online.
you go Costco.com, have you noticed Costco.com has somebody who's an expert at getting spavers to spend money? That the idea of spaver, if you probably figured out by now, is a coined phrase. I don't know where it came from, popular culture, economics professor, wherever its origins was. But the idea is they get you to feel like you're saving money by buying more than you intended to.
Spending and to save, spave.
Spave, yeah. So the Costco item thing is when they have their clothing sales, it seem to pop up like every 3 weeks, I guess. They have the clothing sales. And they'll say, okay, so if you buy 2 of these items, you're going to get X off. If you buy 5 of them, you're going to get this much off, and on like that. The more you buy, the more you save. That's the whole spaver idea. So what happens is you get into this spaver mania, and then you end up with things that you never use.
Pointing at yourself.
Who
He's
I'm
pointing at
pointing
himself
at.
if you're not watching.
It's all me. Yeah. YouTube
And sometimes
viewers.
it's very worth it. You know, like I just got a great deal on the dishwasher pods I love. And it was a discount on 2 packs, big packs of them at Target. But it was enough of a discount. It was cheaper than buying them at Costco, and I'm definitely going to use them. So I was like, I didn't even need them at the time. I still have some of my remaining one, but I will definitely use them.
So I didn't know they were selling Kirkland Signature.
I don't like
dishwasher
the
pods.
Kirkland Signature ones are not good.
That's what I use. They're fine. Our dishes come out great.
Okay.
We use Kirkland Signature pods for
I'm
laundry.
going to bring you
They come out
I
great.
have some left. Oh, it's laundry. This is dishwasher.
No, I do both.
Okay, I'll bring you
KS
my
for both.
remaining dishwasher ones that I want nothing to do with. Sorry,
Okay.
KS.
All right.
Just like their toilet paper. I tried it.
Oh, their toilet paper is a disaster. Anyway,
Sorry.
the point is just be aware that because there's so much excess inventory right now in so many product categories that you could get lured in by the whole spaver temptation and spend money on things you'll maybe never use in time. They could go spoiled on you, whatever, or you end up with more than you actually need in your life. That's when a deal becomes not a deal. So anytime they say, buy 2, get the 3rd free. Buy 3, get 20% off all your purchases. That's what you need to be aware of and really think through, are you being manipulated into something that is good for your wallet or really that gets you to spend money that's better off in your pocket?
All right, we'll go to questions. Jennifer in New Jersey says, I just listened to your episode about seniors getting boatloads of mail from various charities seeking donations. We're going through this now with my father-in-law, whose memory is slipping. We signed him up for informed delivery through the USPS. My father-in-law does not use technology, so we created a separate email for him and signed up for the service for his address. We check that email account every day so we can see what's coming in his mail. For someone dealing with memory loss, these charity solicitations might appear like it's a bill they have to pay. One that bugs me the most is our records show you may have a home warranty that is expiring soon. My father-in-law does not have and has never had a home warranty. And P.S. for security purposes, USPS sends a snail mail postcard to the senior's residence confirming that informed delivery has been activated.
I want to thank you so much for this suggestion. Informed delivery is so fantastic. And in spite of that comedian skit making fun of informed delivery, did you ever see that?
No, I missed that one.
Okay. So it was all
I usually
about...
send you comedians. I can't believe you didn't send me that.
So, well, because nerd alert, that I would think something was funny about informed delivery, a comedian sketch. Anyway, so informed delivery is awesome. What happens is you get a daily email from the Postal Service of what mail they are intending to deliver to you that day. That's how I found out that one of my credit cards, a renewal of a credit card, was stolen somehow between the post office and getting into our locked post office box at our building, because Informed Delivery told me that there was a new card coming that day that never came.
Wow.
Yeah. So Informed Delivery is really great. It's free, simple to sign up for it at the USPS website. And this is a use of it that should have occurred to me a long time ago, that if you have an aging parent, aging relative, or aging friend, and you're not quite sure that their judgment is quite where it was before, sign them up for Informed Delivery. You get the report each morning, and if you see trouble brewing in that mail, you're able to take action before money gets stolen from them. I love it.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to do this. Thank you for this suggestion, especially if you live far away from relatives as well.
Which most of us do in the U.S.
So many of us are spread out, and it's really hard when your parents are struggling. Okay, Jack in Missouri says, last year my wife passed away. So sorry, Jack.
I'm sorry.
I'm 46 with 2 high school-aged children. I inherited a second-generation traditional IRA worth $250K from my mother-in-law to my wife to me. I cashed out some of the money and maxed out my Roth IRA and the kids' 529 plans. Is this the best way to move this money? I have $800K in retirement other than this IRA, and I'm wondering where I should put this money if I want to access it before retirement or put it toward college. Also, my wife was a rewards chaser, which leaves me/her with about 25 to 30 active credit cards.
Wow.
But I currently only use 4 to 5. How do I go about closing cards in her name or joint cards without affecting my credit score, which is around 840? Can I close the cards that are just in her name if I'm an authorized user?
Okay, gosh, that's a lot of questions. First of all, again, I'm really sorry for you and your teenagers that they lost their mom and you lost your beloved wife. There are very strict rules on what's known as an inherited IRA. And if you mess up following the withdrawal schedule, the IRS charges gigantic penalties. If you do not have a CPA who helps you with tax, or an enrolled agent, which is someone who's registered with and trained in IRS tax matters, you definitely want to go consult one to make sure you are doing the withdrawals from this inherited IRA on that schedule. As to what to do with the money, you already have done smart things. Fund a Roth IRA to the max for yourself every year with this money. And second, 529 for the kids. If your kids are likely to go to college, you want to pump money into from that inherited IRA. You're going to have to pay income tax on it, but then you're able to put the money into the 529s for the kids. And weirdly, if one of the 2 kids decides not to go to college or scholarships out in college, you're able to take eventually 35 grand of that money under today's law and move it into Roth IRAs for your kids. So this inherited IRA, there was a double inheritance, you can ultimately take money from it and transition it where it pays tax-free, tax-free growth in 529, not used for education. A balance of 35 grand can migrate over time into an IRA for Roth IRA for each of your kids with phenomenal tax-free growth over the decades with them being teenagers. As far as any other money that's left over, depends what your goals are, whether it should be invested in a variety of index funds, whether some of it should be in savings for a rainy day fund. It's a wider waterfront question that I can't give you a specific answer on.
Maybe worth sitting down with a fiduciary.
Fiduciary, financial planner, and we have links on Clark.com to
how to find one.
How to find one who will give hourly advice rather than wanting to do what's called AUM, assets under management, where they charge you a fee for giving advice based on what money you have. Credit cards. It's very rare for any credit card anymore to be out there that's joint owners. almost all issuers of credit cards, banks and credit unions now, have a single owner of a card with additional authorized users. Obviously, any card you're an owner of that your late wife was an authorized user on, you notify them, they remove her as an authorized user, you still have your credit. Any account, if there were any of these 24 or so cards that you were joint owners on, then what you do is you have to legally notify the credit card company, and they will, depending on the credit card company, they will either say, well, nice knowing you, we don't want you anymore, and close the joint account, or they will remove your late wife from it with a copy of the death certificate, and it will remain your credit. Any that you are an authorized user on your wife's credit, those you have to notify them, those accounts will be closed.
And that shouldn't affect credit very much.
Depends on how much available credit you have. You probably should be able to keep your credit score really high, maybe not as high as almost perfect. But there's something else I want you to do, because you've got a lot of issues here on the table. And look at a guide available at nolo.com on settling an estate and all the things you have to do, whether your late wife died with a will or without. There's very helpful information in that guide, both available as an ebook or an actual physical book.
NOLO.com.
And you may find it available on eBay, a used copy of it, really, really cheaply, where somebody needed it and doesn't need it anymore. And best to you and your kids in a very hard situation.
Brent in North Carolina says, you recently covered I-bond rates. I was one of the many who invested in late 22 and early 23 to snag some of those higher interest rates. My current rates are now 4.35% and 3.94%. Are those rates the new normal? 4.35% feels like a decent long-term rate, but should I consider moving this money out into my online savings account that is currently earning 5.3%? Separately, a while back, you signed a baseball for me that now sits next to the other signed baseballs from other all-time greats like Hank Aaron, Johnny Bench, and Nolan Ryan. I enjoy explaining who you are and why you fit right in with my other heroes, given the impact you've had on so many people, passionately teaching with empathy and without judgment. Thank you for all you do and for signing the baseball.
Brent, I will tell you, I'm always embarrassed when somebody has me sign a baseball, a football, or a basketball, because I'm so far from an athlete, I don't even know what to say, even though
You're a mathlete.
I'm an athlete. But I have, over the years, signed many, many dozens of those items, and it's always felt funny. Signing books, I get that. Signing shirts, I get that. Signing sports balls of any kind. Never signed a soccer ball for anyone, ever. Anyway, back to your question. We covered this recently because so many people have been inquiring about this, and it's important that you know that when people bought Series I savings bonds back when they were earning 9% or so, they were an incredible deal at that time. We're at a point now that I don't want you to hold them for 5 years, even though it means you're going to forfeit 90 days interest, because I-bonds sold back then when there was historic demand for them, unbelievable, unprecedented demand that kept crashing the U.S. Treasury computer system because the demand was so great at over 9%. Those don't earn a base rate. They only earn the rate of inflation. You're better off taking a 90-day interest rate hit, cashing them in, and either buying new Series I bonds at the new interest rate spread, which is fantastic because you get a great base rate plus the rate of inflation. So as a long-term holding, they're vastly superior. Or putting the money in like the savings account you have earning 5.3% right now. But if you like the idea of I-bonds as a long-term holding, taking the 90-day hit, little pain now, gives you much more gain over the next 30 years. So it's what I would do if I had bought bonds at that time. And I want to thank you so much for joining us. Remember, play ball. No, anyway. I want to mention that we are here to serve you so many different ways. Online at clark.com, on social media, with our newsletters that you can see at clark.com/newsletter, with our Team Clark Consumer Action Center answering your questions for free, one-on-one, and then, of course, with what I do on various radio stations around the country and TV stations around the country, providing consumer information and information for your wallet. Everything we do, everywhere we do it, everyone who is in our team, on our team, we're all about you being empowered with knowledge so you learn ways to save more, spend less, and avoid getting ripped off. And we'll see you tomorrow.